Welcome to the Compendium Podcast, hosted by Leadership Books. In just moments, our host, Michael Stickler, will be joining us with a very special guest. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you to Michael. He's a 4-time best-selling author, philanthropist, publisher, and highly sought-after conference speaker. His passion is to see life-changing books find their audience. Books that will change your life, change your business, and change your soul. And he specializes in helping authors and business owners achieve publishing success. Won't you please welcome Michael Stickler?
Hi, thanks so much for the great introduction. Today's going to be a lot of fun as we meet with Carol Sanford. Now, Carol is consistently a recognized thought leader. She works side by side with Fortune 500 companies. This whole idea of new economy executives in designing and leading systematic business change and designs. Through her university and in-house educational offerings, global speaking platforms, multiple award-winning books, and human development work, Carol works with executive leaders who see the possibility to change the nature of work throughout the developing people and work systems that ignite motivation everywhere. For 4 decades, Carol has worked with great leaders of successful businesses such as Google, DuPont, Intel, PG&E, and the 7th generation, educating them to develop their people and to ensure a continuous stream of innovation and continually deliver extraordinary results. I am really blessed to have Carol Sanford with us here on the Compendium Podcast. So won't you welcome Carol Sanford?
Thanks so much, Michael.
Thanks for coming, Carol. Now, you have written a great book, The Regenerative Life, and I want you to kind of just give us an idea, give us the big picture or the big idea of what regenerative life is about.
Well, all of us would love to have a meaningful, contributing life. And most of us think that has to be monumental. I have to go get a special kind of job or take on something almost impossible. What this says is the non-heroic path is a lot better because it means you're able to do something in your everyday life by shifting the role you see yourself playing. And there's the nugget. We sometimes can ask ourselves, how would my father think about this? Or we might have a spiritual figure, what would Buddha say or Jesus say? And that'll shift us. What I discovered, and I'm not the first one, this is an ancient idea, is that if we can really shift to a different mind, a different way of looking, we can see something we could do that can make a huge difference. So that's the idea. Learn what I call these 9 meta roles that we use in society that can help really make things absolutely magical if we were willing to put in a little bit of time.
So, Carol, are you simply saying the idea of reinventing yourself? Or
No.
I think it's much deeper than that.
Yeah, I want people to be their own essence, be who they are. That doesn't move. But we can take on, so let me give you a quick example.
Okay.
If you're working with a set of employees and you've discovered what you're trying to do, 1 or 2 of them over and over again, it's not working. You know what they say about people who do the same thing over and over again, right? Well, what you can do, and one story is, there was one supervisor who'd been involved in one of the book clubs with this, who said, I keep trying to be an instructor, and what I really need to learn to be is an educator. And he said, this book helped me see the big difference between trying to get people to do what I wanted and teach them to be willing to think for themselves. So now, instead of sitting down in a review or anything I'm doing and starting making sure they know what I want, he learned, be clear, be direct. He said, no, the role of educator, which I don't usually associate with a supervisor, he said, but the minute I did, I knew that what I was doing is building intelligence. This book has in it the 9 roles you can try on for the moment, and you don't become them at all. You are you, but you have an opportunity to be able to see the world differently. This particular guy got so unstuck, he got promoted and eventually went and formed his own small company because he could see I was stuck. I thought that the way I was trained and conditioned was the only way to do it. So breaks people loose and gives way to generate possibility.
So I like the way you say, put on a new role, almost like
Yeah.
putting on a jacket.
Exactly.
Okay. And so the inner you is still you, but you're putting on a new jacket. Is this like identity? Is that what you mean?
No,
different kind of identity. What, help us go a little deeper.
What I'm really working on is learning to see the essence of a role. So the essence of an educator is really being able to help people develop their intelligence. The essence of a parent, and sometimes you're parenting at work, but the essence of a parent is actually to build essence expression and self-determination. You want every child to know who they are and to learn to express that. But as parents, we often are so worried about something they're going to do or say or not become. And so we start trying to condition them how to be. If we remember, regenerative parenting, I call it, is regenerating idea about the essence for this moment, about the role I want to be in. So you're not changing your identity. You're changing how to see the essence of what's needed right now by using these little tricks. And one thing that might help is to know this I did as a action learning research project. I had over 100 people involved who tried all this out and gave me the stories. The book is filled with 78 stories, I think it is, of what it meant to just for the moment stop, take a breath, and remember, all right, I've got these 9 roles, and we did lots of work with them in real life. Being able to shift into that, shift the relationship. I can't tell you how many of them tried the parenting role with their kids and changed fundamentally the arguments they were in with their kids. And were shocked that if they remembered his essence expression you're working on, you can stop and say, well, I was wanting them to get their shoes on and get out the door. But if I say to them, how would you like to organize to go today? What would feel like your way of leaving? Because I can tell what I'm doing is not. I didn't change my identity. I didn't change theirs. I changed the way we were carrying out a role by looking at what's the essence of parenting.
I got it. Okay. So how did you discover this problem? I mean, did a company come to you and say, man, Carol, we're having this struggle? Or help me understand that part of it. You mentioned that you did it as a study, but help our listeners understand that.
Well, and I didn't look for a problem. I mean, this is one of 12 books I actually have, but the whole idea was how it is societies work. I was asking that question, what makes society work? And I've been asking that for 45 years. And I looked at how businesses go about how they run business. What does that create in society? So, for example, if we continually condition people to follow the rules, get performance reviews, get promoted based on somebody else telling them what to do, what does that do to society? Well, it makes a big mess. People can't think for themselves. They try and join groups to belong and ask them, how should I vote? And so what it takes for society work is people to be able to be present in the moment with the situation, be able to think for themselves. So my work for life has been about building the system thinking capacity to be able to think like life thinks. And in that, I have developed how to run an organization, how to build strategy. But the one thing I hadn't done, which people ask, is they said, Carol, everything you do, here at Google was great for the company, but what can I as an individual do? Your material is big. And I said, well, okay, we'll do that. So I put together a framework of the 9 major things that if These roles are played well in society. Society works. We've now been putting them into companies, along with doing their strategy and their redesign is building individual capability, not to follow the rules. I mean, not uh, particularly trying to go against them, but learning to be able to think in the moment. And it's not so much situational leadership, which was an old idea. It's more about what is this person that I'm in front of this time needing, and if I were to try different ways of thinking about it, would it open something up? So we did this study, and I had people individuals come and get online, all Zoom, for 6 months, take all the templates, everything I gave them in the book, take the situations they wanted to improve, which was their designer role, their content media. One of my forwards is by the co-producer and host for Here and Now NPR. She says it's changed how she thinks of her content media role and putting it out in the world. And I have another guy who works with the president of Mexico, and he's an economic shaper, and it helped him shift how he could have a country become more wealth generating. And he believes he is finally, in a quiet way, having an impact on the Mexican economy. So it has huge and small.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? So discuss with our listeners the 9 roles.
All right. So there are 3 that I call the initiating roles. They're foundational. The parent, the designer, people who design everything from cars and airplanes to meetings,
Sure.
and then earth tenders, because if earth didn't work, we all don't work.
Right.
Those 3 you have to sometimes switch into, like with your kids, you're a parent some of the time, you're a designer of the day and dinner, but you also have to work with them around earth. Then the second 3 are those are about manifesting in the world. Those first 3 get things built and organized. The second 3 are citizen, economic shaper, and media content creator. And
Okay.
you play all of those. You and I are sitting here doing a media content. We at various times are probably helping people with economic shaping. We forget we're also conditioning them as citizens. The final 3, and these are what I call the shock points. They're the people who bring in something that gets people unstuck, which is the educator, the entrepreneur, and the spirit resource. So the spirit resource are everything from your pastor to your therapist to somebody who works as a resource. So all of those roles we all need to play, not become them. We are us. We will play them differently. If those 9 roles aren't being picked up by everyone who is engaging in life, society doesn't work well. Families don't, communities don't. So that's the 9.
That's great. Now, what other aha moments do you have in your book for the reader?
Well, the aha to me are the people's stories that are in the book. These 78 stories that really show how much impact this could have. Some people within a couple of months change the relationship with their parenting as a family, and set up some things I suggest, like you have an ability for your kids to do more in your family, and they want to, but we mostly want to tell them what to do. How about if you set up Sunday evening dinner meetings and everyone is contributing what they want for that week to the family, and they learn as they grow up and get older how to be a part of contributing. I tell the stories of how I raised my kids and how my grandfather affected me. So you get this kind of thing that is not hard to actually change and not parent like your parents parented you, not be an entrepreneur like the people you worked for. But the real ahas were people who told me their stories and how much it changed their relationship. So read the book for the stories.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I so agree with you when it comes to storytelling. It's proven that storytelling is what engages the imagination.
Yep.
And the things that engage the imagination is what we have a tendency to remember, much more than facts or points or study kind of material, but those applied principles are the things that we remember. So as an author and as a publisher, I really just can't encourage authors enough to tell great stories. It makes a big impact. And speaking of that, what didn't make it in the book? What was something that that just you kind of learned or impacted you through this whole writing process and authoring process?
Well, there were, I guess, hundreds of stories that didn't make it in. I think the biggest impact on me, I think I walked into this book kind of skeptical that people could change in an individual way, going out working. I've always worked in large change efforts. And I knew that you have to have a community to sustain most of it. So I've created communities these individuals could come hang out in. But I was pretty shocked that people could have deep challenges in their personal life, their work life, and that they could learn to cross over these roles. They could learn to bring them in, and they could bring about a lot of change in short periods of time. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway, is it shook loose something I was sure I knew, and I was wrong.
Yeah, I understand how that, people don't understand when you write a book, how it really becomes a discovery mechanism for the author. And then also it starts to shape completely everything that you do, because you've learned these things. I noticed that your organization has the same name, Regenerative Life. So tell us a little bit about what your organization does and what you do. How can people take advantage of your thought leadership?
Well, I have many things with the word regeneration in my life media company. I have a big summit coming up for business leaders that doesn't have the word life, but regenerative shows up over and over again. And what it's about is going back to our essence and learning to see life in essence terms, as opposed to fabrications or old ideas like, how do you in this moment wake you up? I have a series of communities because I believe people do a better job of changing there. I mean, I have podcasts, but the major thing that we do is we have a community for change agents around the world. I've got hundreds of them who meet with me many, many times a year, another one this weekend. And I have a group of business teams who come together. So I have 10 to 15 teams who meet together over a series of years online, and a group, they're learning together. I'm giving them material, but they're also telling me where they're going, what needs to change. And they learn how to be a very different kind of business that can find its own essence, which comes through the founding of it. They can learn to bring that into all their product offerings, their processes, let go of the old toxic material and way of working that most businesses have, and make society work better at the same time. We do that in community.
That's great. And especially in the community, because when people come together, they have a tendency to really sharpen and hone one another. They come up with great ideas. People are smart. I don't think in our society, especially when you listen to the media and stuff, that the appreciation of how smart, how engaged people are. They really are, and they're intuitive in how they see things, and just a little direction usually is all it takes to get them going in the direction that they prefer to go. So, well, I sure applaud what you're doing, Sharon. This is great stuff. Anything I haven't asked you that you would want to make sure that you include for the listener here today?
The only thing I would invite people to do is come check out my podcast, Business Second Opinion, where I critique Harvard Business Review one article at a time and give an alternative way to do it from real life experience. And you can find the connection to all that at carolsanford.com.
Wow, that is a great thing. I didn't realize you did that, Carol, where you go in and critique things. That is a super idea. So, folks, Sharon is available for you. Her book, The Regenerative Life, is available right here, right below. Just click on the button below, and we'll be happy to get a copy out to you. Sharon, I want to thank you so much for today. We had a little hard time, audience, getting the two of us together, but we're so glad that we had you here today.
Right. Thank you. Carol Sanford, thank you so much.
Carol Sanford, thank you so much, and God bless you. Again, look for the next Compendium podcast that will be coming out next week, where we'll have another great author, a great thought leader in an area that you'll be interested in. All right, thanks you. Till next time, God bless.
For joining us for today's broadcast. I do hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And be sure to visit us online at leadershipbooks.store. There you'll find the works of some of the finest thought leaders today. And be sure to tune in here each week to gain even deeper insights from one of those leaders on the Compendium Podcast.